Today we have a ride that takes us kind of all through this valley, the Umbrian Valley. So we're going to go up on one side, then across it, and up on the other side. So we're going to see pretty much all of it today. So we're starting. We are here at Villa Zuccari, of course, our home sweet home. And we take our ride up to our first climb, ending in Trevi, which is an old Roman town. It's cool. The name Trevi comes from tre vie, which means the three roads. So it was where three main roads kind of came together and the town was built around it. So that's the history here, but you can also see a lot of the old Roman architecture. So a lot more of the travertine stone from before, kind of when the Umbrian society changed into the Roman society. They were never fully taken over, just like the Etruscans. They kind of assimilated eventually. Trevi, we can have a coffee stop in town and then continue down the hill onto our bike path. So we have a little bit of bike path riding today, which is very gentle, pretty flat for a while. So I'll use the F word. You can say flat for a little bit. And then as we come back into town a little bit, we've got some bigger hills up to lunch. So these two hills here are about the same as elevation goes. The one up to Trevi feels easier because it's gradual. This one starts out steep, flattens out for a little bit, and then keeps going. And if you've already done the first hill, it can feel harder, but they're about the same. Other things to know on the morning route, after you pass the support van, we do go into traffic a little bit, and there's a traffic circle, so just make sure you're paying attention to your Wahoo so you know where to exit. And then we peel off and we go up this nice little road on the side of Trevi that switches back and goes into town, and then a pretty nice, not too steep downhill, not like yesterday's screaming downhill on the afternoon option, but gradual. Then coming into our bike path, just make sure you're paying attention to where the path ends and the road comes in. Sometimes you're crossing a road, so make sure you're following the signs just like you would if you're driving a car, even though it doesn't feel like there's any traffic around. But these, small electric cars can come flying out of nowhere and they're quiet. So just make sure you're stopping, checking for traffic. Also, sometimes getting on and off the bike path, there's some gravelly bits. And there's also these posts right in the middle of the bike path so the cars don't go on there. So make sure you're not, chatting with your friend. Okay? So keep your eyes open there. But a very, very lovely path following a canal. And then when we get off the bike path, we go back into traffic for a little bit. Another roundabout, so make sure you're keeping an eye out. Roundabouts are a great place to make sure you're always, big hand signals to the cars behind you. And I like to just take the road. Okay, I don't like to kind of skirt around and hope that car isn't going to cut me off. I go right into the middle of the traffic circle, and just you stay and you say, okay, I'm taking the time until I exit. Or you can do the idea of critical mass, where you get like 6 or 7 of you. And you're just nobody in, okay? Great. We're going to have the vans also at the bottom of the hill for support if you need anything there. And then you can decide whether or not to do the hill. Our lunch today is at Agriturismo Rivoli. Agriturismos are really important for the areas like Umbria and Tuscany when it comes to tourism and kind of maintaining the culture, especially the farming culture, but also allowing tourism to build around it. So this is a way to give small farm owners extra income without them competing against huge hotels. So they're not going to build, the Quality Inn right down the road. So they let these guys pretty much open up their farm homes to tourists. They can have like a B&B, but they have to follow a few rules. So one of them is that a majority of what they serve, so they have to offer food that has to be from their property. So majority of what we eat in these places is from right there within a kilometer's distance. And then also they can't hire extra work or build extra property to be able to host everybody. It has to be kind of the working and functioning farm as it is, and you open up a room for a few people to stay. But they have them all over, and they're a great way to kind of feel the quotidian countryside life of the Italians, and also to taste good food, and also not feel like you're supporting big tourism that's going to kind of ruin the culture as it is. So we like that. After lunch, we've got two options here. let's say the morning was enough and you want to coast on down to the hotel, spend some time by the pool, or just relax. We have 18.8 kilometers, mostly downhill, a few little rollers towards the end. So you do need a little bit of a boost to get over those. Don't be surprised at the end for that last little hills. And then if you want the extra kilometerage, you can take the Strada del Sagrantino. So this is the Sagrantino road, and that's the grape that we tried in last night's red wine. So that's the main Umbrian grape for their wine productions. It's that very, very tannic, dry wines. So this road will take you kind of through the hillsides over here, and it's 3 main climbs. The last one coming up to the bottom of Montefalco again, and all the way back down. Okay. So as far as elevation goes, in the morning option, we've got 550 meters. That's comparable to the entire ride of yesterday. Okay. So they'll kind of split into these 2 climbs, and then afternoon option is almost about the same. A little bit less distance, a little bit less elevation. So morning and afternoon long options are quite similar as far as difficulty. The short option in the afternoon is kind of that, when I'm done, I'm done, I'm home. One thing we would like to teach you guys in this moment, since you're going to Trevi, let's say you want to order a coffee. In Italy, ordering your coffee is very specific. So we know in the US, and if you go into a Starbucks, you're like, I like my, my mocha, frappuccino, double shot espresso with the soy milk, blah, 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 blah. Same thing in Italy, different coffees, however. So the base coffee for everything is, of course, the espresso. So if you go into a cafe and you say, un café, that's what you get. Just a plain little espresso in that tiny little mug, which is actually less caffeine than a normal coffee. So you see Italians downing these, they'll have one at breakfast, one before lunch, one after lunch, one in the middle of the day with their smoke break, and then one after dinner, of course. So they down these like crazy, but they're not as caffeinated. So that's why Americans always drink like a doppio or the super long coffee. So you can build on it. The doppio is, of course, a double espresso, which is 2 shots. You can also have the lungo, which is usually in a bigger mug, and that's basically, it's kind of a halfway between the espresso and the Americano. So it's a little bit longer, so a little bit more water compared to the espresso, whereas the Americano is like a full mug of water with a little bit of espresso in it. So different levels of strength and flavor. For the Americans, you might walk into your local bar and you say, I would like a latte.